Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters and life.
Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays. I'm so happy to have a guest, very cool guest this week, Brian Hahne. He's down in the Carolinas. So lucky to have some decent weather, or nicer than the upper East Coast weather. I'm so jealous of all my Carolina friends. So welcome, Brian, to Rock and Roll Fridays.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So Brian is obviously a diehard music fan and is involved in a couple things on the music scene that we're going to talk about. One is Curation Records, and the other is Raven's Real Almanac. Raven's Real Almanac is, well, I'll let Brian introduce himself and kind of talk about how he got involved in all these musical projects and some of the cool people that he's met from a band perspective. And mostly, you know, I think like me, you're probably just a promoter of music and good people, and that's the whole scene. Absolutely. Right? It's how can you get good music into more people's hands and learn more about bands they never heard of and discover more people and friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally the reason I have always just been interested in turning people on to music and sharing stuff, you know. Started in the 80s with like the mixtapes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
CDs and, you know, anything you could tell somebody about a new band or something like that was always fun. So I just always got into concerts and, just always wanted to be around the music scene. And then from a career perspective, it never really took off, but just so many friends were musicians or had bands and stuff. And just over the years, just staying in touch with everybody, and just, it's amazing how much you see some folks, like even just the other night, we saw Mick Jagger shows up in Charlotte.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Bar just to have a beer, you know. And I went through my whole like teens and 20s and stuff thinking all these people were so untouchable and, you know, just you'll never meet these people. And at the end of the day, afterwards, I met so many people that in the music industry and stuff, and they're just like you and me, and we just hanging out and talking about music and stuff like that. And there's really, you know, no difference between anybody. And that was just one of the cool things that I just like being a part of it, help promote music and you know, the whole community and stuff. So,
and I always talk about it, like the musicians, and I've been lucky to meet, I mean, this is the premise of the show, right? Talking about a famous band or musician that you met. Like when you meet your band and your people and they appreciate you as a fan and helping, right, promote their art, it's just a cooler experience for everyone. And I know it's their job and they have a lot of people coming up to them, right? But that's also their livelihood and their living. And they probably remember when they weren't so popular and no one listened to their music, and now all of a sudden they have fans, right? So
exactly. I mean, that's kind of what happened with the Chris Robinson stuff. I just wanted to start something. I was so obsessed with their music, and I don't know if it's an OCD thing or whatnot, but I was like, I need to know every song they played and all their set lists and stuff. And the Grateful Dead had it. So
right. So that's Raven's Real Almanac, everyone.
That's the Raven's Real Almanac, yeah.
So Brian kind of had this idea, like the Grateful Dead, right? That, you know, if you're not familiar with the Grateful Dead, you could find every single piece of music, every single tour, every single concert, every single hall, every single detail, every single note of the band. And Brian set out to kind of replicate that for the Chris Robinson Brotherhood. And it's a really cool site. And it's not like, what I love about the site, it's not just kind of data, but it's stories and art and obviously music, but video, imagery. Kind of talk through what was your plan and how did that evolve?
Well, I started it with a friend at the time who he was big into writing, and I was doing, you know, I was just into like the whole collecting aspect. So he was working on some of the music reviews. And I put the website together in the store, and I just started downloading pictures from everywhere. And I was like, this is going to be the most comprehensive Chris Robinson Brotherhood site that we can come up with. And it was, we tied it into Crow's Base, and we made CR Base, which is kind of its own front end. So I've been a Black Crowes fan for a long time. And just start going and saying, okay, every show, we're going to categorize it. What's the set list? People's pictures from the show, you know, stories from it, the review of the show, news articles and stuff, so that you could just, anything I found online, and I was searching.
Yeah. You were going deep,
like,
right?
I was going real deep. It was crazy. I would just, you know, like one thing I did on Instagram, I like searched for Chris Robinson Brotherhood, and then I taped the page down key down, and I left for a couple hours as it was searching, and it got through like 6 years of Chris Robinson Brotherhood hashtags. Then I went back through every Instagram post and saved all the pictures out of it. It took weeks, if not months, but I've got about 25,000 pictures from Chris Robinson Brotherhood, Circles Around the Sun, Greenleaf Rustlers, all the offshoot bands and whatnot, and they're tied in there. So,
and now, how did that lead to involvement with the band and building more relationships, right? So you were a promoter of their music and their...
Yeah, we were just kind of trying to promote the music, get the word out there. My friend and I, you know, at the time, now it's just, I should say it's myself. I do the whole set myself now. But we were just looking to get things out there and get the band out and talk to people about it. And there was a lot of stuff about, like, people were making their own art, making stickers and stuff to sell. And we kind of just put the word out there to Chris and the band after talking to him that, you know, hey, it was kind of like a quid pro quo kind of thing. I want to say, yeah, it wasn't really official or anything. I always say we were officially unofficial. Official.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's what it was. It was unofficially official because, you know, we had their blessing. They were like, you know, we said, if we can come into the shows, we'll help, you know, promote it, talk it up and stuff like that, make mention of it, send emails out and stuff. And, you know, we would get put on the guest list and take pictures and things like that. And then that was kind of it. And as a result, we would go out, we made a couple t-shirts to promote the site. And all I really ever wanted to do was break even.
Right.
A lot of money year over year, but it was a hobby. But it was just to try and break even. That was the only point to doing it. And it ended up being really cool. We just reach out to another artist and say, hey, you want to do something for us? They would donate their time. We'd promote them. And, you know, it just ended up going that way. So we had somebody making Chris Robinson mugs that, I mean, and you see all the crossover of it because Chris is sitting there with a mug in one picture on
right.
Christmas tree. And it's like, that's the mug. There's only one place to get it. And Alan Forbes got his mug with the big F on it. We had, you know, somebody making jewelry. I got my freak necklace right here.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know, oops, you can see the F. So I had given one to Chad, who was the tour manager at the end.
Yep.
CRB, he was just tour managing on the Black Crowes tour. So just, you know, by doing this, writing these reviews and getting all that stuff, we just kind of, you know, met the band, became friends and got closer and closer over the years. And it just kind of spiraled from there. So
that's awesome. And, you know, I work in marketing and advertising, and I know how much effort it is to maintain a website and to do that work. So God bless you. I mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
A lot
I never
of work.
thought it would be so much, but it's fun, you know, and I just like going out and seeing stuff. And somebody will say, hey, they'll post on Facebook, hey, here's my pictures from 5 years ago. I really missed the band. And I'm like, I need those pictures. Send me everything else you got. And now people just send pictures to me all the time. You know, I'll add them in. Like, we don't have any from that show. And then we'll go add them in.
That's awesome.
So we did that, but it's expanded. I mean, and all the people still even talk to, you know, I go to concerts now. That whole band created a whole scene that just has gone over just every other scene. You know, we go to concerts with all these folks. We have retreat, like we went, like 20 of us went up to Asheville, all rented cabins. We're going to see a J-Rad show that got canceled because of COVID. We all just drank.
But building these relationships through, and I mean, I followed CRB. You would see the same people at shows, like in a different city or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's a little community. And
I flew out to California to go see Los Hermanos Cosmico at Pappy and Harriet's, and then people are coming up going, Brian, and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you ever, but I know you from Facebook. Then we would start, all of a sudden it's like, these people.
Yeah.
Well, after, however many years, but just the whole scene ended up being just a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And how about Curation Records? So
that started again, kind of, I had the Ravens Reel site. When Neil passed away, I guess Brent and Neil had been talking about a label. They were, maybe they could put their own stuff out. It was going to kind of be like a musician's label for musicians, kind of doing stuff, not where money is the bottom dollar reason for doing it. Brent has 30 plus years in the music industry. And then you had Neil involved and everybody who's around them. You got Chris Robinson, everybody from Beachwood Sparks, like Farmer Dave and Benji Knight.
Mm-hmm. And
you got all these folks out there. But when Neil passed away, it was like, what are they going to do? And, I guess Brent was a little, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was a little lost, I guess, because it was like, how are we going to have a web, site? What happens to the label? And I said, well, hey, I did Ravens Reels. Call Chris. He can tell you how much I can do.
Right. Yeah. Here's my work. It's been going on for years.
And he knew me already. So he was like, all right, come on and help. So I started helping him and built the website, built the store. And pretty much he and I started with, calling radio stations, trying to get bands on the air. Called XM and got some bands on the Fish radio station. Have some contacts with the Circle of the Grateful Dead. Started calling those folks and like, hey, call me a program director with a radio station. Everybody just helping out. So
and what are some of the bands on the label that people can check out?
Oh gosh. So let's see. So we started Pacific Range was the first band that we released an album. So we do a lot of our own vinyl, CD, digital downloads and stuff. Pacific Range was out there and they're great. They the first album had Dwayne Betts sitting in on guitar. It was produced by Dan Horn from Grateful Shred and Circles Around the Sun.
Yeah, not too shabby, huh?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It was all these people were like, like I said, originally the label was going to be like label for musicians, run by musicians. It was going to be all the same guys that just keep putting out different things in different iterations. But so we had Pacific Range. We've put out things from Brent's bands like Gospel Beach and Beachwood Sparks. We did a Beachwood Sparks 20th anniversary repressing. So the 20th anniversary of that album, Chris Robinson did the liner notes for it.
That's awesome.
Cool. So, that was cool to see that. Then Trevor Bell Jimenez was played with Brent in some of his bands, and he put out a solo album. Farmer Dave, so Dave Scher is Farmer Dave and the Wizards of the West. They're on there. So he played with Brent, and you got Benji Knight in there, Lauren Barth, Katie Skeen, I think Stewart from Pacific Range is in there. It's a whole big cross.
And people that don't know, killer musicians. I mean,
they're all amazing musicians.
They're amazing musicians that they might not, you might not hear about the popularity, but when you listen to the music, it is so good and so cool. I think it's so chill,
It's amazing. And then we got two new bands, Uni Boys and Triptides, which are both really big out there. I love the new Triptides album, love the new Uni Boys album. But it's just a lot of fun. The music, like you said, the musicians are so good. And when I flew out to Pappy and Harriet's to go see Los Hermanos Cosmico, I mean, that band right there, you had Alex Coford on drums, who does stuff with Beachwood Sparks and Gospel Beach. We did the Neil Casal video was done with, Brent worked with some folks to get that put together. You can see You Don't See Me Crying, or You Won't See Me Crying. So that came out. But So Los Hermanos had Benji in it, Alex Coford, Farmer Dave, Chris Robinson, Brent Rademacher, Camilla Softly. We had Barry Sless, or they had Barry Sless on steel guitar.
Very cool.
And lead guitar. But they're out there playing covers and Black Crowes song or two, a bunch of Chris Robinson songs. I'm out there for 2 nights. I played another 2 nights in Big Sur before that. And there's going to be more coming out. So
awesome. So where can people find this music? Obviously,
Los Hermanos, you have to look on YouTube right now, but there is going to be supposed to be a 3-album vinyl coming out, a live album. And I think that's coming from the Pappy and Harriet's show. I taped those myself, but I had not released it.
Right. And obviously Curation Records website, that's the
Curation Records, curationrecords.com has all of our stuff on it. We're just doing a lot of good stuff. We got a bunch of irons in the fire. We got 2 guys helping us out now, who one in Sweden who is tied in with Pustervik, and he helps us with Border and Red Eye for music distribution. Then we got Michael who's in England, and he's helping us out with stuff there, and bringing new bands and distribution stuff there. So
great, that's so cool. What a
lot of fun stuff.
It's great creativity. It's very very cool.
It's
and
fun,
everyone should check out curationrecords.com and hear this music, because it needs to be heard. I mean, it's the music industry, it is what it is these days, but like when you get good musicians playing together and that creativity, there's nothing like it. It really, you're right. I mean, that's one of the things. That's why Brent and I were like, we just said the label is about love and honesty and promoting this music and working with the friends. And I mean, like I said, Brent's been doing this 30 years. They've got people who are willing to either volunteer time to do art or do it for, a little bit less. Yeah.
But just the names around the thing, like I mentioned, all the guys in that band, Dave Schools from Widespread Panic is helping produce stuff. Dan Horn, as I mentioned earlier, the guys from Apache are tied in. There's just this whole big conglomerate. It's a tornado of coolness.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have to ask you to finish up.
Yeah.
You've obviously been around the music scene. Is there a story where you're like, oh man, I can't even believe I'm hanging out with this group or this guy? I'm sure you've had many moments, but is there one that kind of stands out?
There's a lot. So I would say the Chris Robinson Brotherhood stuff is really cool. But it really comes down, I've been so fortunate to meet so many people. 2 stories. My brother was the music editor in Charlotte, and I would piggyback on some of the stuff that he would get into. Sometimes he'd be like, hey, I got an extra ticket.
Yeah, totally.
One cool show that I went to, I'll tell 2 different stories. One cool show was, it was Further. So, was this Further? No, I'm sorry. This one was going to be Rat Dog.
Yeah.
To Rat Dog, Dennis McNally was the manager of the band. So I go backstage afterwards and, waiting there with my book. I was like, I don't want to ask Dennis to sign it. I don't want to be a fanboy, and he's just looking at me and he goes, just ask me to sign it. All right. Can you sign so Dennis McNally signs my book. And as he's signing, he goes, who's your brother? Or who are you? And I said, my brother is Jeff. Now, my brother is Jeff Hahne. But he goes, Jeff, he goes, you mean Clementi? He goes, I didn't know he had a brother. So Jeff Clementi walks in. And no, not that Jeff. And then after him walks in Jay Lane, who was playing drums, and Bobby. So Bobby
Weir walking right in.
I'm like standing backstage with Dennis McNally, Jeff Clementi, Bobby Weir, and Jay Lane. And Dennis is like, whatever you do, don't ask Bobby for his autograph. I was like, all right, I won't. So I asked Jay for his autograph, grabs the set list, and he sits down, he starts drawing. And I was like, what in the world is going on? He Bobby goes to sit down on the couch and he misses the couch and falls, like stumbles into this big stack of beer cans and beer 12 packs and stuff. Jay gives me the set list, and written on it is On Shrooms, but he wrote it mirror reversed. So it's backwards. I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, yeah, now when you hold it up into a mirror, you can see it says you're on shrooms. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then Bobby was like, give me that. And he signed it. And Dennis was like, no. Oh man. I was like, hey, Bobby did it on his own. I didn't do it.
Yeah, you didn't ask him.
So that was super cool, because those are people that you would never think you could get in near anything else. And I was just like, this is really cool. Another one, I'll just mention, my friends from high school in a lot of bands and stuff, and they started, a bunch of them got together and they made a Zappa tribute band, which was Project Object.
Oh. And
really big. Andre Chumley is the person. He was Adrian Ballew's guitar tech, and he was doing a whole other stuff. But a bunch of my friends from high school were in this band, and Ike Willis was the singer and guitarist for it. And I was like, this is cool. I get to meet Ike. So I got to meet Ike Willis. And then on one of the tours, Napoleon Murphy Brock came along, and Denny Wally. And I was like, this is cool. And Don Preston. So I met a whole bunch of these Zappa folks. And then it was just like, it was weird, because I mean, things would get surreal. I'm like, I have Ike Willis's cell phone number. Why am I texting Ike Willis? Who the hell?
Right. Well, it goes back to your point about people just being people. And
yeah, it didn't matter. At first, I would always question myself, who am I? Why do I deserve this? And really, I don't. But the other thing was, I just wasn't a dick to anybody. And I wasn't looking to get anything out of it. You know, I will admit sometimes it gets kind of hard to go backstage, and I'm like, I'm going to take pictures, you know, and they're all their friends, and they're like, look, to them, that's just Bobby, and it's a Tuesday. I'm like, no, to me, that's Bobby Weir, and it's backstage at a concert. But,
right. It's totally.
But it's cool. It's fun, man. I like doing it. It's just kind of a hobby, and but the curation stuff that's where my heart is right now.
And it's, Brian, I appreciate your time so much. And everyone has to check out curationrecords.com.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And Raven's Real Almanac. You know, for people that don't know Chris Robinson Brotherhood and that type of music and that type of creativity, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Brian,
definitely.
Thank you so much for being on Rock and Roll
Friday.
Fridays.
I appreciate it. Anytime. Thanks
awesome.
so much. Thanks.